Welcome back to the Film Ireland podcast. It's been a little while. We're deep in August now. Summer is gone. Winter's approaching. Christmas is coming.
That's it.
Hello again, Sarah. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. Yes, I'm happy that we finally got this podcast together this time. It sort of fell apart a few times.
But also, we hadn't seen a whole lot the first time around either, so it's probably
true.
for the best that we delayed it and saw, once again, too many films. And now we're like, won't we talk about all of those films we saw? But given this is the Film Ireland podcast, Sarah, take us away with some Irish film reviews.
Yes, okay. So this first one is like a little bit of a cheat, I feel.
Out of the gate. We've already broken the system and everything we stand for.
But so this is The Lonely Battle of Thomas Reid, which came out last year in cinemas, but it had its television debut this year. I think it was at the beginning of July. And
what station was that on now? Is that the RTE or...
I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
Our national
You
broadcaster.
don't need no skybox for these homegrown movies. So yeah, and I feel I have to include it specifically because can it be my film of the year if it came out last year? I don't know, but this is
a debate I often have because, like, with the Oscar stuff, I'd count them as last year movies, even though they always come out. Like The Favourite, for example, at the end of this year, will that be my top 10? Even though it's technically a 2018 movie in America, but 2019 movie here. So I don't know. Yeah. Make up your own rules.
Yeah. Well, there we go. So anyway, it's a really, really good film is basically, I suppose, my main point. So I want to talk about it. Yeah, directed by Fergal Ward. And it's Richard, I don't know if you know anything about it at all. Because I really didn't know anything.
I feel I did at one point and now I don't.
Okay.
I definitely remember being out and I remember seeing trailers and like hearing a lot about it. So I think I did at one point know the story, but now it's entirely gone. So regale me. So yeah, it's about a farmer named Thomas Reid, his lonely battle. So far, so good.
Yes, pretty much against the Industrial Development Authority, who basically, on behalf of Intel, tried to get a compulsory purchase order to take Thomas Reid's land.
This is a true story, isn't it?
Yes, entirely true.
They didn't name Intel, did they, in like a fictionalized story and not get sued?
Yeah, actually, yeah. There's a lot of weird things going on about it that I'm even just sort of leery about mentioning in it.
Oh, really?
Well, it's quite scary because part of why this, I guess, documentary got made was because this compulsory purchase order was like unprecedented. Like usually they're done for public good reasons. This one was done because Intel wanted land, which is not a public good.
No.
So, essentially it was threatening what Irish people should be able to own or not own as sort of private individuals. So, it's quite a big deal for a lot of reasons. It's a really fascinating story. But on top of this, it's just a very fascinating look at sort of, I guess, an Ireland that isn't quite here anymore. Because Thomas Reid, he inherited this family farm. He pretty much just wants to just be a small time farmer. He seems to still, listen to records from the 70s.
Right.
He doesn't seem to have much interest in technology. And he's kind of, it sort of is like a real life local hero, if you've seen that movie.
I know of it though.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it is like just like sort of really amazing look at sort of an admirable way of life that's kind of gone. In particular, watching him look after his cows and stuff, and you're hearing the sounds of like cars going by on the motorway outside. And there's this sort of big incongruity between the two worlds. And another really interesting aspect of it is that they have, partly because of things that they couldn't show, they have recreations of like the High Court action that's going on and the interactions between the Industrial Development Authority and Thomas Reid. Yeah, so they're just there's actors in court garb and there's cows in the background. It's really, really it's very, very impressive. It's absolutely nail biting stuff. And I won't say how it ends, because I think one of the I definitely felt like not actually knowing what the outcome was going to be was quite important the first time I watched it. Sure, some people might know, so if you do, watch the movie anyway. But yeah, no, it's just like really, really interesting look at something that sounds like it probably shouldn't be as interesting.
Yeah. Well, there was a documentary a few years ago that before Trump was, president of the world, Trump,
that thing.
about him trying to buy a lot of land in Scotland for.
Oh, right.
I forget the name of the documentary. That was also like referencing a local hero too. And again, like that sounds like it should be interesting. Whereas this local people being like, I don't want a building site here.
Yeah,
yet the film's actually really interesting and really riveting and annoying, and made you hate Trump, and then Trump being president. And now it's all much worse. Sorry, go on. So yeah, I understand what you mean by like material being ostensibly quite pedestrian, but being really engaging. Because again, we're used to the same kind of story in movies, as we were actually saying off air a minute ago, and now this is sort of a more unique, smaller, specific kind of thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about The Lonely Battle of Thomas Reid. Yes. I suppose moving on to the second part of my Irish corner is a film that is actually only coming out now, so it's I'm really on it. Yeah, exactly. Which is Never Grow Old, directed by Ivan Kavanagh. I think it's an American, Irish, French movie starring Emile Hirsch, who I believe will be coming up again later.
Oh yeah. Right.
Yeah. I've actually subsequently to watching
read
this
up on him and found out the bad things.
It's not good.
No, it's not for good at all. He's one of those people. #MeToo. All that.
Yeah.
Not a great guy, by all accounts. Allegedly.
Yes, allegedly. So this actually kind of, obviously it's going to color how you view anything, but specifically in this movie, he's supposed to be like the good guy, protecting his wife from the bad guys. So
ironic.
It's a little bit ironic.
Eat that, Alanis Morissette.
Yeah, she has to rewrite the song
for the post Me Too.
But so this is set in. It tells us at the very beginning. It's set in 1849 on the trail out to California. It's sort of like the type of tiny village that would probably be there 200 years after The Witch, if they survived-ish kind of thing. Actually, the cinematography is great. There's a lot of mud. There's a lot of like townspeople walking around in mud. But it all looks very, very evocative. That's definitely one of the stronger parts of the movie. Emile Hirsch is supposedly an Irish man, which I did not realize until his character specifies it 30 minutes in.
Oh, so there's no like dodgy accent or anything.
Oh, I thought he was German or Dutch, it is not a good Irish accent.
Interesting.
It's also not kind of ridiculous enough to make any list of ridiculous accents, but it's just not very good.
That's kind of worse though. You want to go like really bad. Yeah, in the middle is no fun.
Exactly. So, and I realized that also if, a German or Dutch audience watched this, they'd be like, he's not German or Dutch. I presume it's just a poor accent in every way. Maybe it's not, I don't know. Hirsch is a undertaker, and him and his family have been hoping to get out to California, but they kind of stopped here along the way and have kind of become part of the community. When John Cusack's bad guy comes along, John Cusack, really good. Does a very good... Yeah, he's a pretty scary guy.
Thought about him in years.
Yeah, well, there you go. He's back in town.
How's his accent?
He doesn't... it's just sort of an American-ish accent. It's fine. One of the good parts of it, actually... Well, one of the parts that I kind of liked at the time, I'm not entirely so sure about now, was that he's saying to Emile Hirsch, like, oh, you're Irish. You know that like the Irish are like the lowest of the low here. And I sort of thought that it was trying to go for sort of like, this is the kind of asshole who tells Irish myths, Irish slave myths to, to stir the shit basically. But actually, I'm not really sure what the point of it was. Like, it didn't sort of lead to anything that big. So I think it was just like, it's a way of provoking someone. But anyway, yeah, so the town at the time is a dry town. They don't allow alcohol in it.
Okay.
And John Cusack's bad guy decides to open up a tavern, and everything descends into chaos. So it's not a terrible movie, but I also don't think it didn't really convince me of what it was trying to do. Emile Hirsch's character is sort of dragged into it because they knock on his door late one night and are like kind of basically saying, you direct us towards the houses of the people who owe us money, or we'll do something nasty to your wife and kids. So he sort of becomes their, like, I don't know, their go-between, I guess. And also, since he's the Undertaker, basically they're kind of saying like, oh, good news, we're going to murder more people. You're not going to be out of business. But they also, I think the film is also trying to, it's trying to maintain him as a good guy who's getting too far in.
Right.
But they never really show us him getting too far in. Like, he always seems like he doesn't want to be doing what he's doing. There's also not enough done to show that he couldn't get out of it. Like, it sort of just didn't really convince me, I think, what it was trying to do. There's also one kind of slightly weird subplot, which is another family are passing through on their way to California, and it's just the most like earnest husband and wife. The husband's kind of going, say, is there anywhere, we can get a drink on our way through? And the wife's going, but only one, because, we got to get through to California in one day. And so Emile Hirsch is like, yes, there is a tavern. And then the next scene is, oh, that guy got shot. So it's just like sickly sweet, trying to show something, but I don't know. So there's sort of some kind of odd subplots going on that I wasn't that keen on. But yeah, like it's sort of a decent enough Western, but I don't know that it does anything particularly interesting either.
It sounds oddly like it should be starring Liam Neeson. And that's the level of kind of mid-tier, not great film it is. Like, he should be in it.
Yeah. I think actually that I think the film suffers a bit because it doesn't want its main character to be portrayed as like an asshole.
Like its lead actor.
Yes, yeah. When it probably should be. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That's odd for a Western too. Usually they kind of are not too nonplussed about having like more morally ambiguous protagonists.
I mean, maybe that is what they were trying to go to differentiate themselves.
Maybe. Seems odd.
And I mean, in a way, I would have liked if they could have pulled it off. I probably would have liked it, but I'm not sure if they did. Yeah, his wife is sort of probably the best character. I would like to have seen more of her. She's just like sort of anachronistically feminist, but kicking ass. That
trope. I appreciate it because I can't stand seeing old timey sexism for the sake of old timey sexism, but I also do find it oddly like historically apologetic to have
like, definitely. That's it. Yeah. I don't know. I think it's maybe just like start telling you stories and instead of just shoehorning like feminist stuff that doesn't make sense in there. But like that's gonna happen. Yeah. So yeah, good, not great.
Okay. I will quickly jump in with a Toy Story 4, which came out and is probably the only Disney animated film I'll see all year. I suppose context from my Toy Story, whatever. I don't like swear by them. They're good. I've seen them all in cinema once each. That's all the time I've seen them. 3 is probably the best one. This one did need to exist, but it is decent. It's a good little. People are saying like it's more of a coda to 3. I think it's more of a side story. Like it does have certain elements that kind of feel like they're the next step of the conclusion, but also not so much. I've actually forgotten what the plot is, to be honest. There's a new toy that's a fork, and then they go on a road trip. That's basically the plot.
Did they have to go and get Bo Peep back, or does she turn up?
So the opening is like a flashback to before the events of 3, and it's showing how she left. She got like the daughter. I forget the name of the kids. Andy and who was the sister name? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Bessie. It wasn't Bessie. Yeah. That's the name of like a cow. Bessie, whatever her name was. She like gets rid of the toy and like sell it off and stuff, and then they're like, Bo Peep's gone. And then like flashes forward to currently now with all the toys with other child from the end of 3. What's her name? God damn it. I feel like I should know her name. She's mentioned like every second line in the movie. Anyway, the new kid that Andy gave the toys to the end of 3.
Okay.
Her. And she goes to school for the first time, and Woody helps her make a fork thing, which then comes to life. And then they're on a road trip, and it keeps trying to kill itself, so they have to protect it. It's funny, it's fine. I'll explain that word context in a second.
Okay.
And then it gets kidnapped by a toy in an antique shop where Bo Peep escaped from, and then they find her, and she helps them rescue the. It's Anyway, it's quite good. I think it's odd in that it's probably the first one of all those that isn't an ensemble piece. Like, it's very much Woody's story, and Woody's, when I say Woody, it's about for all the dads in the audience. Be like, oh, my children are leaving me forever. I must find new hobbies to deal with my life.
Okay.
That's very much what the plot is. But the rest of the characters are there, but functionally useless. Like, Jesse gets nothing to do. Buzz gets a little small side story, but like functioning to do. So that kind of feels odd. Like, it feels like one of the, like the shorts they released a while ago. Like one of them, but kind of stretched. On the note of the suicide thing, though, so Sporky knows he is trash because he's a disposable fork.
Okay.
So he feels like his purpose is to be used and then go in the trash. So he's always just trying to jump in the bins.
Okay.
And just keeps saying that I'm trash. And like when he describes what going in the trash would be like, at least this warm embrace, and so it's all like, I think it's very much like millennial humor. Like that's not for the kids. That's definitely more for like the people that grew up watching the other ones that are now jaded non-homeowners that just hate everything. But I think it works quite well, and the kids probably wouldn't notice too much that it's all just veiled suicide humor.
Okay.
There's a lot of like kiddie jokes, but there's also some quite decent horror elements, because in the antique shop, there's no real villain in this movie either. That's another kind of weird thing about it. But the nominal first 2-act villain, before you really start the villain, I've forgotten her name. She's like one of those like pull string 1950s kind of dolls, and then a little sort of frilly dress and stuff, and goes for tea parties. But her voice box is broken, so she wants to kidnap Woody to get his voice box so she can be loved by the little girl that comes into the antique shop and like passes her by all the time. But she has all of these like ventriloquist dummies that are her kind of like own like private bodyguard outfit.
Oh, right.
And they look like, do you remember Goosebumps, that the ventriloquist dummy design for that, like a big round head? They look similar to that, but the way they move is this like gangly flopping like running thing they do. They don't talk.
Wow.
They just kind of make awkward noises, and like their jaws just hanging, and they just tilt their heads at weird angles, and it's played up for full horror. And I saw it with like adults in the cinema around me, and some of them were like getting freaked out by it. So like it works as genuine horror, which is quite impressive. So those sequences are quite fun. I think, and this is something I think you broke my brain with a while ago. I forget what film it was you mentioned it in, but once you said it, I couldn't stop seeing it. I keep watching for when cops are on screen in these movies now.
Right.
And how they never, ever, ever have white male cops in movies anymore. It's always either women or like people of color, and it's really interesting. I know why they're doing it, and I'll actually get to that in Good Boys later. I'll explain why they're doing it now, but we'll get to Good Boys later. But they can't really show white male cops harassing people anymore, especially not because they have much more diverse casts these days in movies. They can't show them, like in Good Boys, the bit with the cop. It's a black cop harassing a black kid, and it's fine. If that was a white cop, endless think pieces. So I know why they're doing it. It's some kind of unique, like ubiquitous casting post-it note somewhere. It has to be. Because also, I'm not going to bother reviewing Spider-Man, even though it's quite good. But there's a deleted sequence in that you can see in the trailer where Spider-Man's like having the chat with the cops, and they're all black cops.
Wow.
And it's so, once you spot it, it's so obviously intentional just to avoid controversy and to be quote unquote apolitical. Yeah. But anyway, so even in Toy Story, it's sort of there. There is one white cop at one point, like knocks on a window, but like the only cops you see, there's like security guards, they're all women, and near the end that help a little girl get who's lost. And then there's like a Polly Pocket toy who thinks she's a cop, and even she's like dark skinned.
Okay, like, wow.
It's even the toys. Like it's so ubiquitous. It's just kind of weird. Even though like obviously it's not a problem, it's so, once you can see them trying to avoid the problem before it happens, it's just really kind of cynical and sort of, I don't know, sinister in some way.
Definitely.
But yeah, no, it's that sort of weird thing aside, it's good. Keanu Reeves in this a little bit. He's fun as a Canadian, like. Oh, Sarah, we're back. The names are gone. Evil Knievel. Like a Canadian version of Evil Knievel.
I was going like, have you forgotten all of the toys? Like, did you have a childhood?
So he's that. He's good. Key and Peele are in it as like these two stuffed bears are like kind of sewn together, and they keep having these really violent fantasies about like basically murdering people, and it's, you kind of see like visualizations of them now and again, and they're really funny. But again, it just feels like this isn't for the kids. This feels like it's for the adults that grew up these movies, because it's noticeably harsher in its kind of comedy than the kiddie stuff is. I think there was someone else that was in it that was surprising. Maybe not. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely worth seeing if you like the other ones. I don't think it ruins the ending of 3 or anything, because I think it does continue on. Like 3 is the ending, but 4 is kind of what they did next, or like what existentially they did next, like how they moved on to realizing that there's always going to be another kid on the horizon, another looming obsolescence to deal with, and like the ennui of that, or the ennui, how you pronounce that word. Good.
No, I heard some people saying that Woody is some sort of like class traitor, or like these are.
Please do explain.
Well, I genuinely don't really know beyond that, but just that like he in some way does something that is not cool.
God, I have no idea. Jesus, no, I have no idea. If I thought about it for an hour, maybe I could think about it.
He exists in a capitalist system, you know?
I mean, they all do.
Can you be a bigger traitor than that? Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's a good note to end it on.
Yeah, that's it. So, podcast listeners, you could look that up and see what the hell I'm talking about.
We all have arts degrees here. We apologize. Yeah. All right. So go on. Give us some Netflix goodness, as is our customary Netflix thing with these episodes now.
Yeah. To be honest, I was kind of thinking maybe I should stop doing Netflix because, no, I was thinking like they're all kind of bad. Oh, yeah. But then I found one that's good. Excellent. So I feel like I'm fine again.
First one this year?
Probably not. No, not the first one this year. But the first one in a while, definitely. Yeah. I also think that you might just have to go non-English speaking in order to find the good ones.
Almost definitely.
So, yeah.
So I feel like the ones that are non-English are the ones that they just bought, that are already made, whereas the ones that they make themselves are all English. So like, I think you're getting real films by them.
Yeah, so I'm basically saying, just look. Yeah, okay, so things that have a Netflix logo but aren't Netflix. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So yeah, I guess these two are they're useful because they're both essentially about kidnapping. So, there's a theme.
Yeah, it's universal.
There you go, yeah. So the crap English-speaking one is a Secret Obsession. And then the
name alone sounds like a trashy, like 80s romance novel.
Yeah, that's it. I was actually like, it should be a perfume or something. Yeah. It's already poor. The good one is a German film called Kidnapping, Stella. So, blunt to the point. This is what the movie is about.
What's the German title? Do you know?
I don't know.
Can you say it in an accent?
No. Okay, so Secret Obsession. One of the reasons I watched it because I was like, this looks trashy and it might be entertaining for an hour and a half.
And you have a PhD to do what you're doing. So yeah,
exactly.
Netflix,
what was so annoying about it, beyond as well as other things, is just like the blandness of the palette, I guess. Like, there's no color contrast, there's no shadow. It's just like they went out, shot this on the studio without thinking about how things like light and shadow can influence a viewing of a film. I feel like that is possibly a problem with Netflix films, that they all look just like they were shot on the same stage on the same day.
Next question is going to be, does it have the Netflix with staple of having some light outdoor shots and then 2 house locations for the rest of the movie?
I mean, it's a lot of a house location, definitely.
Because they all are. Bird Box, The Perfection, they're all just...
Yeah, that's a
here's
good
some
point.
location work, here's a house, the rest of it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's sort of true of both of the films to a certain degree, because they are about like someone being kidnapped. How will they get out of this?
I guess in that genre, yes, it's more acceptable to have a single location.
But no, agreed. So Secret Obsession as well. Like, it's essentially, it's about a woman who was in some sort of horrible accident and has amnesia. But thankfully, her loving husband, who she literally just got married to, turns up at the hospital to bring her home. Hooray!
Is this heavily foreshadowed in some like hilarious way what the twist is going to be?
Yeah. It's like it's a weird film because what you anticipate being the twist is the twist, but it happens neither early enough nor late enough for it to like be the thing.
Oh,
do you know? It does end up being the thing, but you don't spend enough time waiting for it or for the fallout of it. It's strange. It's a sort of a subgenre that not necessarily has been done that much, but it's been done enough that like you should be able to make a competent version of it. But this one has so many storylines that go nowhere. Sort of the most egregious are obviously the film wants to have a red herring. So this kind of like grizzly pirate looking guy turns up at the hospital and is like, oh, where is she? Where's that lady? And they're like, we don't know who you are. Go away. But then he dies like 20 minutes later.
All right.
And we get no explanation as to who he was. So it's just like you can't just, your storyline needs to go somewhere.
Is this someone's first film?
Possibly. It's a guy called Peter Sullivan. I have not heard of his name elsewhere.
Google.
Yeah. And I suppose, another one that annoyed me was there's a detective who is trying to figure out who are these people really? What's going on? And we're introduced to him because he's buying a toy for his daughter for her birthday,
right,
who we find out died 10 years ago, and he's been mourning her ever since. That's it. Like, there's at the end of the film, he's like, well, I don't feel I need to mourn anymore. So it's like these things are just thrown there, and it's a very standard story. So tie up your loose ends instead of just throwing them out into the ether.
Sorry, his directing credits. I'm just reading through this here. Listen to these names. So, Summoned, High School Possession, Dear Secret Santa, a horror movie apparently. Hidden Away.
Okay.
All About Christmas Eve, which I assume is a lady's name probably. The Dog Who Saved Halloween.
Okay.
Stephen King Night Surf. Is that a surfing film or a Stephen King film? Okay, so not his first movie, but it sounds like he makes a lot of trashy movies.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Good for him.
Yeah. So that's bad movie.
That's the bad one, yeah.
The good movie is Kidnapping Stella. This is just a good, I suppose in comparison, everyone has interesting motives. Their actions make sense. Storyline,
how dare they?
Things actually tie up in appropriate and interesting ways.
No meandering, don't know subplots.
Yeah, pretty much.
Full of dead daughters and pirates.
It's kind of, I suppose it is a little bit distressing at times. They're like, because it is about someone being kidnapped for ransom. So it's stuff like having to, go in a bucket and stuff turns up. You don't see it, but I can understand people watching it being kind of finding it quite upsetting. So I guess, I would say like go in knowing it's kind of a bit gross.
I mean, it feels weird to have to like flag that up because it's a movie about kidnapping. It shouldn't be
true.
A fun time, right? But that's the kind of the way we're at now, where it's all these sexy thrillers where there's no buckets involved. There should be. So.
Actually, what I quite like about it is, I suppose I won't give away too much of what happens, but these two guys kidnap Stella, and actually it's quite good because you kind of find out that one of the guys who kidnapped her was actually her ex-boyfriend, and who basically had told the other guy, she like her father has money, but didn't tell him that he has a very close tie to her. So they're wearing masks a lot of the time so that she doesn't recognize them. But like, even though the setup is actually really stupid, it actually like works quite well. Like, you realize that this guy is actually just kind of quite dim. That's why he ended up where he is in the first place. So like I was quite clever the way that they do kind of, I suppose, set up something that's doesn't sound like it should quite work, but I think it ends up working quite well. So that's a better movie.
I actually watched that one.
Please do.
How long was it? I think 2 hours, hour and a half.
Yeah, I think it's not quite 2 hours.
Okay,
I think it's a decent
that's a good length.
Yes,
right,
yes.
Oh, that's a good segue. What isn't a decent length was MidSommar. Or should we say MidSommar? I'm never sure how we actually say. Do you use the accented version or not?
Yeah. What do they say in the movie? I can't really remember, actually. Do they ever say it?
I think they just call it the MidSommar Festival. But then again, they all say it in the natural accent. So they kind of say MidSommar anyway. But I don't know if they're saying MidSommar or MidSommar. But anyway, look, doesn't matter. I actually didn't know going into this how long it was going to be.
Okay.
And like I didn't. I actually will say this. I didn't think it felt like 2.5 hours. It's like it felt long. I was like, this is going on a bit, but I didn't think it was a full 2.5 hours. But I'm glad I didn't go in knowing that, because I feel I would have been very restless if I hadn't. And there's a 3-hour cut available now, or like he premiered a 3-hour cut last week or something. Apparently, it's good. I'd watch it once. I think the 3-hour cut just to see. But no. Anyway, MidSommar. Story is Florence Plough is a woman with a lot of trauma in her life, as is every Ari Aster protagonist, it seems, in every movie he does. With a dickhead boyfriend played by our old favourite Jack Rayner. They get dragged to a weird festival by a friend of theirs for ostensibly anthropological study reasons, and then that festival is shockingly a big horrible mess, nightmare thing, and things go very Wicker Man, and it's the Wicker
But they're
Man.
not influenced by the Wicker Man.
No, definitely not. So nothing gets burned alive in a big wooden thing at the end. So I think first thing I have to say about this is I think I did like it, but excellent use of Jack Rayner. This is probably the best casting of him I've seen in a while, because we often slag off poor Jack, poor very wealthy Jack, who's been in Transformer movies, that he's a bit dopey looking and he acts in a kind of slightly bewildered way all the time. Excellent use of him here, because he's meant to be this slightly dickhead boyfriend that's very considerate and ignorant and who you're meant to hate, which is always good, and isn't the brightest or isn't the most self-aware. So I think he was actually very well used here, and it's one of his better performances in my mind.
Yeah, it was appropriate to have him back with Will Poulter from when they were together before in Detroit, doing pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Will Poulter's great in this. He almost feels out of place as like this outwardly comedic character, but he was very good. I'm guessing by your wincing at the start of this, you didn't enjoy it as much.
Not really, no.
What was your thoughts on Hereditary? I can't remember now.
On Twitch?
Hereditary?
Hereditary. Yeah, I just thought it was unintentionally quite funny.
Oh, yes, you did. This is where the naked thing came from,
Yes, exactly. At least there was lots of naked women in this, so, it kind of balances out.
I'm curious what his third film will be, because it seems like he makes the same film every time, because both of them are like, here's someone who experienced a really upsetting familial trauma, who found themselves in like a weird culty situation, and then everything just burns down at the end. It's like that's the same film kind of twice.
No, agreed. No, I like I actually agreed that it felt long. It didn't feel 2.5 hours long, and I actually didn't despise the experience of watching it. But I just found that everything was signposted so like clearly, so early as well, that I anticipated pretty much everything that happened, which was just quite disappointing, because like there was scope for them to do stuff and subvert your expectations, but yeah, no, I was kind of just like, is this like, this is sort of like for people who haven't seen horror films before. It's sort of what it felt like to me. So
because my worry going in was that it's so obviously the Wicker Man, and yet then they're like, oh no, it's we intentionally tried not to be the Wicker Man, because everything's the Wicker Man if you do like a cult movie, and then it's like, yeah, it's just kind of the Wicker Man.
Yeah,
like it's kind of the opposite in some ways, in that like Wicker Man's all about this sort of puritanical cult that are against, or like, well, he's a puritanical guy that comes into the cult and then gets like oversexed to death, kind of, whereas they're all horny modern millennials, and therefore but then they still try to make that sort of the shocking thing of, oh no, they're having so much sex in here, how horrifying. And that sex scene's quite funny, because when Jack Rayner's having sex with the girl, and everyone like behind was like pushing him into her. It's very funny. I didn't initially on the first viewing fully understand Florence Plough's arc, and having like read a lot of reviews, I was like, oh, I guess that actually is kind of not revolutionary, but sort of a bit different. Because I like the fact that it ended with her sort of joining them and choosing to kill Jack Rayner's character and smiling at the end and stuff. I didn't really get why it was happening at the time, but like thinking about it and reading about it, I guess it makes sense that it is sort of just her abandoning that toxic relationship for a much worse toxic relationship in many ways. So that's nice, but again, 2.5 hours, just do that. Do you need it? I will say it was not really scary at any point.
No.
Like, I like the idea of doing a daylight horror movie, but the only bits that had any tension were all in darkness anyway.
Yeah, they really were.
But it was still horrifying, especially the suicide jump bit, which was one of the worst things I've ever seen. And the skin suit. Good Jesus, the skin suit sequence was just horrifying.
Yeah, I think that was the one part that I did think was genuinely quite scary. But it was funny. I was talking about it with someone recently because, like, in particular, because my research is on nighttime in Gothic and horror. So, talking with someone who actually brought up quite an interesting point, which is like the fact that the one black character dies in the night is actually quite problematic.
Probably, yeah.
And I think it kind of addressed a slightly wider problem I had with the film, which was like that it really didn't want to address the race issue that is going on, because that's a society that presumably is going to get white people to mix with white people.
Yeah. Like
all the characters of color are just sort of shunted out of the way instead of addressing the fact that this is about purity, do you know? Which is, I don't know, I thought that was just a little bit cowardly or something. I don't know. It disappointed me a bit.
I guess yeah. I mean, they never try and make it seem like what they're doing there is good, I suppose. But you're right, they don't actually really address it either. It's just sort of, it's a thing that happens, but it's never really commented on. It's again, that sort of quote unquote apolitical thing, isn't it?
Yeah. And actually, the ending, the reason I didn't really like the ending was, like, I do understand some people saying, like, oh, it's kind of is seeing it from the woman's point of view, and that's cool.
It's vaguely feminist.
Yeah, vaguely feminist. But the thing is that it's about a guy being, like, killed in, like, what you could basically call a witch hunt. And also, he's called Christian and he's been killed by pagans. So I sort of don't really understand the view that it's anything other than, like, really misogynistic.
Huh. Didn't even cop that. Yeah.
So it disappointed me.
Yeah. If we'd reviewed this, like, close to the time, I would have more to say about it. I'm, like, reading back my notes and going, I know you mentioned before, like, we both saw the trailer and the fact that they use, like, as a big sexy shot in the trailer, like this person with deformities. In the end, they're barely in it.
It's strange, actually.
Didn't need to be there at all, really. Yeah. They're just there to exist as sort of a, look how great our incest is. All right.
Well done. Yeah.
Bizarre.
And actually, funny, I remember you saying, as you mentioned just there, the fact that, like, the two movies, Hereditary and MidSommar, that they do kind of follow almost the exact same trajectory. And I think as well, it kind of highlights the fact that the cult that they go to stay with, it starts off more nuanced and ends up just being like, oh no, they're just murderers. Like, at the start it sort of looks like 4 people. Yeah, I know, it's fine. But it does seem like it's starting off saying, like, well, maybe there's a reason to, like, we don't, euthanize our aged, but we let them, crumble to death in homes. Are we any better?
That was an interesting point.
Which was an interesting point. But then at the end, it's like, they just murder everyone.
Put them in a bear.
Yeah.
Put the bear on fire.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it does feel like Ari Aster is, like, using quite nuanced ideas to do very blunt, I would argue, not very interesting stories. So... yeah.
Because I had that same problem with Hereditary, where I was like, this is an interesting setup. And if you left it ambiguous, this would be a really good, like, exploration of grief and stuff. But as it is, it's just this really weird, dumb movie. But I really like Hereditary, but the end of it's just stupid. I still think it's an impressive piece of work.
There's visually...
yeah, there's some really good visuals in it. I think the fact that neither of us, despite not loving it, didn't feel the length so much is probably a testament to it being quite something. I'm not sure. I wouldn't go as far as saying well paced, but, like, it's it flows quite well. I don't know. Like, I didn't mind the time I spent with the cult, apart from the really horrifying suicide bit, which is just the grossest thing. Like, when that scene starts and it pans across the crowd and it's just one guy with a giant fuck off hammer. It's, no. No.
Yeah. No, like, I think for the most part, as I said, I was curious to see not what was going to happen, but how it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the one part that contradicts that is, do you remember the scene where with the big long table and all the drinks, and you see that Jack Rayner's drink is clearly spiked? and that goes on for like 5 minutes. It's like, that was sort of just like, are you really insulting the viewer's intelligence? Like, we get it. We see the drink.
Wait, now which time are we talking about? The time when at the end when she's already been crowned the May Queen,
No,
or
no.
the bit with the pube and the drink?
This is I think it's the bit with the pube and the drink, like where it's just like it's clearly a different color from the rest, and it's just there for ages, which is just I don't know. It just felt like we get it, and if you haven't got it, you're not going to. You know, we don't need 5 minutes of different color drink. But, you know, there you go.
Apparently his like assembly cut list was 5 hours long. And
Right.
you can imagine how much labour there must have been on that one.
Wow.
The deleted actually stuff does sound good. Well, it sounds like it's mainly just like little extra bits here and there, but there's one sequence they added back in of a nighttime drowning,
Okay.
which I think would have been nice just to break up the monotony of the daylight, but at the same time it would have been just reinforcing the whole thing of daylight horror.
Yeah.
Only nighttime is scary.
Yeah. That's right.
Like it could still end up in my top 10 end of the year because I think it's a good piece of craft. But yeah, I don't know if it's that engaging of a film on the whole. But no, it was decent. It was okay. It was better than your average Netflix movie.
That's true. I did enjoy. I'm not the only one to notice this. That William Jackson Harper, who plays Chidi in The Good Place, is basically this. Okay, well, he's basically the same character.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So this is. It's kind of nice to think of this as nice to think of this as like, what did he do before he died? So there you go.
Why not? Speaking of women in cults, how about telling us about a woman at war?
Oh,
that was terrible. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. It's not really about cults, but it is about women. So you're halfway there. This is another film that I did not. I sort of anticipated liking it, but I did not anticipate like thinking it's possibly one of my films of the year. This
is still out. Is that what you said?
I think it probably is gone by now. I saw it back in the Pavilion. Tends to show like re-show movies that have been out earlier in the year, so that's when I caught it. So this has been out for out for a while. But yes, please do. So this is an Icelandic, I think Icelandic Ukrainian production. Part of it is set in Ukraine, so that makes sense. But it's directed by Benedict Elgengersson, and Haldora Gerharddóttir is the main character, Hala, who's a woman in, I think she's kind of late 40s, the reason I'm saying that in particular is because she's been trying to adopt but has been unsuccessful for quite a while because of her age. So she basically instead has decided to wage a one-woman war on sort of industry in Iceland. There's one company in particular that I suppose that they seem to be involved in energy in some way, the bad types of energy. So she spends the time taking down their power lines.
Oh, I think I saw the trailer for this one a while ago, and I thought this could either be really good or incredibly naff, because the trailer made it look like some ridiculous like British slapstick comedy.
Okay.
And I just wasn't sure what to make of it at all. Okay, this one. Right.
Yeah, actually, I suppose even at times I was sort of like, oh, what do I make of this? But it's, as I said, what's just very interesting about it is I think it's at least gesturing towards a new type of filmmaking, or at least storytelling, because it's very much about what do we do now that climate change is here, which I know, not to say that's never been addressed, but I don't think it's ever been addressed.
I mean, not by our politicians.
No, exactly. And I think it's obviously been there. There's been subtextual readings that can be done, but there's not a lot of films that are like about climate change yet.
I guess that's true. Actually,
So I was definitely thinking, okay, this could be interesting. And so one of the quite clever things about the movie is the soundtrack is, you might have seen, I don't know if they brought it up in the trailer, but the soundtrack is actually being played diegetically.
Okay.
It's that there's a group of 3 singers and 3 musicians who basically follow her around while she's like sabotaging and off doing her basic things. And it's sort of, at first it does kind of seem like it's just there to be kind of played for laughs, but I think it's also quite clever, because I think the movie is trying to maybe say that like we've had this one narrative for so long, but how can we try to change that? And the fact that she sort of interacts with the thing that is supposed to be telling her narrative nearly feels like they're trying to say, like, okay, well, can we reassess? Can we try new things? And in particular, at the very end of the movie, so I suppose, this is where it is kind of, I think, trying new things in particular. Herself and like other people have to like get off this bus, and they're like, okay, you have to get off this bus because there's a flood everywhere now. And they basically just have to, they just start wading through the water. And which is, so, there's not any particular explanation as to why this is happening, but it's just sort of like, shit, this is our reality now.
Yeah.
And in particular, her band is walking with her, and one of the musicians in the band actually like takes her suitcase for her. And I actually like started crying at that point, because it was just sort of like, holy shit, like this is the future and we have to start helping each other.
Yeah.
Sort of, I think the really revolutionary parts of the film are actually quite small, but like it just feels like this is where we have to go now. So it's like, it was just a really incredibly powerful film for me, even though I don't really know why in certain ways. I feel like I'm going to cry now. So I don't know. I guess I'm just terrified about climate change.
That's very fair.
So yeah. So I suppose the other thing as well is when I saw it, it was like mainly old people in the cinema, and I'm not sure how much of them got it or didn't. So I hope other people see it. Do you know? Because like I don't know. I don't mean to be ageist, but it's just like they're not going to be the ones
dealing with this.
Yeah. So I would say do try and see it, because it's I don't know, quite important, I think.
Wow, okay, that's quite a high sell of a movie. I must actually try and see it.
Yeah.
I guess, from looking towards the future, it's looking back into the past. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which I'm annoyed, sadly, Sarah has not seen.
Yeah, sorry.
She doesn't know any previous episodes. You'll know that Sarah loves just ripping into a good mainstream film by a problematic male director. Alas, I have to take up the mantle for this day. Right, so you all know what it is. It's a new Tarantino movie. It's nominally about DiCaprio and Brad Pitt as Rick Dalton and, I want to say, Cliff, Brad Pitt, as characters in a weekend 6 months before the Manson murders. Sharon Tate's also kind of hanging around the plot. And then at the end, it flashes forward to the night of the murders. So I'm going to spoil the whole thing because it's kind of hard not to talk about it without spoiling it. Everyone, I guess, suspected that he'd alter history again, Inglourious Basterds style. He does. So instead of murdering Sharon Tate and her unborn baby and everyone else in that house, the Manson family killers, again, there's less of them than there was in the real world, because they kind of altered that bit again as well. The one that was in Stranger Things and who was Uma Thurman's daughter is one of them, but then she gets cold feet and runs away. So there's 3 of them, and they go to Rick Dalton's house instead because he's Sharon Tate's neighbour. And then Brad Pitt, while high on acid, violently murders all of them. And that sequence is quite fun just because it's so ridiculous. But after you think about it for a little while, you realise that, well, because the audience is expected to like be deliriously enjoying this cacophony of violence against these three people. These 3 loser hippie people. But in the movie's logic, they've actually done nothing wrong. Like they've threatened some people with knives. But
oh my god.
Because like one of them, she gets killed by Brad Pitt like grabbing her head and repeatedly smashing against a stone fireplace until she's like a pulp mess.
Okay.
So like
nice.
just to clarify, he is high as shit at this point. Like he's like crazily high. That's why he's just laughing while murdering these people. And like, it's fun when you're watching it, but then you think of like, but these were just like 3 hippies who, they threatened you with a knife and a gun, but they didn't do anything. And then here you are. The other quite good gag is there's a really early scene that shows an old film DiCaprio's character was in where he like flamethrowered some Nazis. And then at the very end, he still has the flamethrower, so he flamethrowed another one of them. And it's very funny. But it's also like, it's disproportionate diegetically to what's happening. Like it's real world retribution on these people, but those murders didn't happen in this universe.
Yeah. Shit.
I also think the ending that doesn't work the same way that Inglourious Basterds worked, whereby because Hitler still died, I suppose. He just died differently in the movie, and it was more fun to see him get that kind of death rather than a solitary suicide death ever. But this one's like, but Sharon Tate's still dead, and Nah, and also I can't help but feel that.
She's still dead in the.
Oh no, she lives in the movie.
Okay, she lives in the movie.
Like the movie ends with Kepler going to her house and them all like having like a little hangout, and then it just goes to title card.
Christ, okay.
Which, but what was I saying? Yeah, so I think another little thing that he's doing with that revisionism is that Tarantino is one of the people that famously defended Polanski at one point.
Oh, right.
And then since apologized and then went, "It's not a good look, man. Don't say those things." But now in that universe, the murder never happened, so presumably the rest of it never happened, and Polanski is A-okay and a safe person to like again.
Wow, yeah.
That is my interpretation of what's happening there anyway. Yeah, so that stuff aside, is the film any good? It's okay. It's got the MidSommar problem of it is way too long, but this one I think definitely feels this is 240, 250, and you feel it because I saw someone describe it, it's a film about people killing time who don't have time to kill, which is an interesting way of looking at it, but the problem with that is that you have the DiCaprio and Pitt characters who are just bumming around doing nothing for like this entire weekend, and it's very watchable and like it's very engaging, but they are just doing nothing. And the problem with that is that you have Tate kind of in the background, or like she gets her own like kind of subplot basically, where it's just her like a day in her life 6 months before the murders happened, or didn't happen, whatever. But her very presence gives the movie this tension that you're waiting for a bad thing to happen. You know, but if you go in knowing the real world, I suppose you if you didn't, I don't know how this even work. Because you'd be like confused. Why is she in this movie? Who is this person?
Wow.
But yeah, so her very presence gives this movie this incredible tension, and it made me really uneasy during the scenes of like DiCaprio just bumming around on the set, like having a laugh with the lads, and like, but because like you just they kind of. What is that genre? Is it just called hangout movies? I think it's called hangout movies. Like this kind of like stoner movies, or people like just sitting around talking. Those are fine, but when you add this sort of Hitchcockian, intention or not, is like Hitchcockian like ticking bomb on the table in the form of Sharon Tate. It just gives the whole thing the wrong energy, and the scenes feel so painfully like aggressively meandering. The Tate stuff itself is actually very good because it doesn't treat her like some kind of lost fallen angel. It's just like here is a normal human being, and here's her just being very like conventional and just having a nice time around her life. And it does give a nice little kind of pang of tragedy to it, but it also feels like that should have been its own movie. You want to give Sharon Tate back her humanity, do that, but it doesn't need to be in this movie about aging Hollywood actors and Tarantino kind of self-inserting himself about like being out of touch with the youth. And I read one very good review by Darren Mooney, who did a very in-depth review of it, and he commented on the casting of the Manson family and how it's all very modern. Like it's Dakota Fanning, it's Lena Dunham, it's all these kind of people that are all these like she's very good. Wow. So it's all these kind of up and coming like current stars of Hollywood, and like they're the insurgent force of like encroaching damage and stuff, and it's all like this is really icky, and it's just an old man being like, oh, the kids are frightening and my way of life's dying out,
so murder them all.
Yeah, pretty much. Get high and smash their face into fireplaces. Like that's the problem. Like I don't think it's an issue that Tarantino wanted to make that kind of movie. Like it's very self-indulgent, but then again, that's been his whole career. So fine, make this kind of sad wank film to yourself about like you're not even floundering. Like he's still top of his game. He's still like critically lauded and making money at the box office. I don't know what he's talking about, but if he feels like he's out of touch and losing like respect with the kids, fine. Don't then make it about Sharon Tate, because then you're just like pulling away from a real woman's actual death to make yourself feel better. Like, it's such an odd like meshing gross, of elements that I don't like. Of course, our old friend from earlier is in the movie. I actually don't even know who he's playing. I think he's in like one scene. I think I can't remember where he is. So another part, like the meandering problem, is that there is so many flashbacks in this movie. It's constantly just, hey Rick, remember when you were in that movie? Flashback to him in that movie. Then there's a flashback in a flashback. And every time anyone mentions anything off, it's like Family Guy. It just cuts away to the thing being shown then, and that includes the now kind of infamous Bruce Lee scene, which I think is pretty bad. Do you know anything about this? I
only heard that it existed. I don't really know.
The trailer?
To be honest. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's near enough the whole scene anyway. Like it's a very short scene. But it does feel like, given that Tarantino obviously co-opted the Bruce Lee iconography of Kill Bill and sort of took that, because everyone now knows that was the Kill Bill suit, not the Bruce Lee suit, to then have him show up, be this really loudmouth, arrogant asshole, which apparently he was in real life, and then just have this made-up white man character in Brad Pitt to beat the shit out of him. Like,
Wow.
wow, this is sort of dodgy, isn't it?
It's also it just sounds a bit as well like, I mean, Sharon Tate and Bruce Lee, they're people who died tragically, and they're not here to defend themselves. Like,
because here's the worst thing: Tarantino apparently talked to Sharon Tate's sister, because I think she's in contact with Polanski in some way. In some way, to get word to Polanski that, look, don't worry, dog, I won't do you any wrong in this movie. I'm sure that was the exact words. But he didn't contact anyone from Bruce Lee's estate.
Really?
And Bruce Lee's daughter is pissed about the movie. So
wow, I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty bad. Like, I rewatched Pulp Fiction stuff recently because I was just curious if like they still hold up, and I do think his first few films do still hold up. Like, obviously there's problematic stuff in them, but they're still really well made. And like Pulp Fiction, for being 2.5 hours long, is really tight, and every scene feels like it has a point, and it flows really well. This one is just, it's in dire need of an editor. I would actually personally, if I was doing it, excise the entire Sharon Tate storyline, because it is really good, and Margot Robbie's really good in the role, and I like how quiet and sort of subdued it is for Tarantino, what he's doing, what she's doing, but it doesn't sit at all well, the rest of it.
Well, can I ask, because from the trailer, the impression I got of the movie was Tarantino saying, what if I was around in the 60s and I made the movies then? Wouldn't that be cool? Is it anywhere close to that? It just seemed like it was him trying to be like, imagine if I'd made Pulp Fiction or The Hateful Eight in the 60s.
Kind of, yeah, a little bit. It's that, and it's also, as people point out, like, because he loves obviously like older kind of shit upon actors who didn't get like the career break they needed. Like, it's very much like an ode, like a love letter to that kind of actor. Okay. Which is another problem, because like that's who DiCaprio is playing. Like, he's playing this fictional version of an actual actor that apparently existed, who was sort of big in the 50s, then got no career in the 60s, and that's all fine. But it's DiCaprio playing him. Like, it's one of the most famous actors in the world. I think they should have cast someone else in that role. Someone that actually in real life maybe hasn't had that kind of career.
True, yeah.
Because it's really hard to not to see Leonardo DiCaprio in the role. Like, oh, he has a stutter, because he makes him human, but also like, but it's Leonardo DiCaprio.
And sorry as well. Is it a joke that that Brad Pitt is his stunt double? Like, because just like they don't look alike.
No, they don't.
and what, Brad Pitt is probably 10, 15 years older than him. Like, were these things? Well, he's definitely older, isn't he? I mean, is Brad Pitt in his 50s? And
so is DiCaprio. Oh, maybe not. Oh, you might be right. Actually, you'll be right. Yeah, I didn't cop that.
I'm going to check.
I thought they were similar enough in age, but maybe you're right, actually. Yeah. It's not really a joke, I don't think. I think it's meant to be pretty straight-faced.
Okay.
Actually, there's some stuff you'd love about Brad Pitt's character. So there's I've read so many articles in the last few weeks, because you know the stuff like Uma Thurman and the Kill Bill stunt that went wrong and all that nonsense.
Oh yes, yeah.
People have read into it that, but also like kind of Weinstein-y subtext hang over all of this. So Brad Pitt's character, it's alluded to, murdered his wife and got away with it. And you see the briefest okay. You see the briefest flashback again of him on a boat with her. And then like he's holding like a spear gun and she's just nagging him, and then it cuts away, you never see what happens. Oh. And it's never mentioned again. But it's just left there like, oh, he killed his wife, and we just don't mention it. And I was like, what the fuck?
Wait, Hank, sorry, who did you say that it's the rumor, is it based on someone on a rumor? Is it?
Well, actually it is. Well, okay, I read somewhere that it's based on Natalie Wood.
Yeah, that's what I was, okay, because when you described that I was going, okay.
That's kind of what it is, yeah. But I also feel like his present is also a Weinstein thing of, okay, because DiCaprio's character knows about this and he's still like best friends with them, and I think that's kind of Tarantino going, oh yeah, I knew about the Weinstein stuff, but I didn't know anything about it, but I feel bad about it, but also, you know, some people are okay. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's trying to say, but it all just, there's too many obvious links, and it all hangs grossly over it, and there's a lot of kind of, so there's a bit when like Brad Pitt picks up one of the Manson family who's hitchhiking and brings them back to the ranch where they're all living. That's actually probably the best scene in the movie, where it's this really slow build of tension, like him walking around the ranch, kind of copying there's something wrong here, this is some kind of cult, whatever. Great sequence. Anyway, on the way back, and she offers to give him a blowjob, and he's like, how old are you? And he goes, oh, no one ever asked that. You're such a good guy for asking how old I am. And I was like, And there's so much stuff like that. And then even like with the murder at the end,
Oh,
2 of the 3 are women, and the ones that get the most violence focused on are the women characters.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
It's just, there's so much in it, and I just feel really icky. Like I do think, on broadly speaking, I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but the more I think of it, I'm like, oh God, Tarantino. Yeah. I never thought you were a good guy, but like, you're really not a good guy.
Yeah, you're not doing yourself any favors. Ooh, and no segue into it, but
questions, please.
yeah. Well, no, just looking it up there. Leonardo DiCaprio is 44 and Brad Pitt is 55. Huh. So I feel I am justified in thinking that's a silly casting decision.
Fair, I think fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, it's more the fact that they really don't look anything alike. They don't have the same facial bone structures or anything. Like,
I guess a lot of stuntmen probably don't. Like, once you have the wig on, it's all the sort of
maybe
behind the shoulder acting, isn't it? Really,
probably, yeah. Oh well.
Yes, and everyone calling it like his masterpiece and film of the year. I'm like, I don't. Even like outside all the problematic shit. It's so long. It's so self-indulgent. It needs to be at least half an hour short.
Yeah. Well, it's just the fact that your opening description of the film or plot was basically the end.
Yeah.
Sort of suggested to me, like, do I need to sit around for the first 2 hours?
That's the thing. You don't. Like, to the point that the first 2.5 hours pass by, and again, like, nothing's happened the first 2.5 hours. Broadly speaking, nothing has happened. And then it cuts forward to the 6 months later bit, and there's loads and loads of voiceover from Kurt Russell's character just setting stuff up. So it's like, we spent 2.5 hours doing nothing, but now there's no time to set up the actual final act. So here's a lot of this exposition in voiceover and quick cuts to get everyone to the right place for the final showdown. It's like, that's really lazy filmmaking. Yeah. That's so amateur.
And do you remember in Hateful Eight, people were giving out...
Barely.
Okay, fair enough. But there's one short amount of voiceover from Tarantino basically telling you that someone has been under the floor the whole time or something like that. And I remember people being like, I think people who even liked the film were like, why? That was terrible. Yeah. Like that, I wonder, is that him doubling down on people being like, your voiceovers aren't good?
Maybe, because I think he does that now and again. Like, I know there's a bit in Inglourious Basterds where like Sam Jackson pops up to explain how film nitrate works, but that was kind of fine, I thought, because I was explaining just an actual like element opposed to like setting up a plot point or like giving us exposition. But this one, like it's aggressive near the end.
Wow.
It's just, there's no time left. Here is a second by second quick cut of what's happening.
Wow.
It's a very frustrating movie. Again, I think maybe watch it on a plane sometime.
Yeah,
It's a long fucking flight.
Sounds good. I mean, not good. You know what I mean?
That's probably what I'll say. Let me just check. Right. So from shall we call it some icons of toxic masculinity to an attempt to rectify that.
Yes.
Good Boys.
Yes.
Which a film I've been fascinated by the response to, because it seems like anyone of like our age, which is 20s, we're young. So 20s, like mid-20s, late 20s, whatever, are really enjoying it. And anyone older than that seems to absolutely hate it. And I don't really get why, because I understand that the humor is very crass and kind of one note, but I still feel like the film's heart is in such a good place that I couldn't say Manda even if I didn't like the jokes. I have a this is admittedly quite a cynical theory as to why some audiences might not, or some people might not, I don't think it's an insistence, but I think maybe they would see it on the insistence on consent in the film, not implying that people want to see rape going on or anything like that, but that there's a couple of times where the joke revolves around the fact that you have to ask a girl before you kiss her, and I feel like some people might not enjoy this. This occurred to me too.
Yeah, so I don't know.
In a fairly packed cinema of, I'd say, similarly aged peers, some younger, some older, and I did kind of get a bit tense every time that came up, because I was waiting for someone in the audience, given the current political climate we're in, to just kind of scoff real loud or something. No one seemed to, but
okay,
I still
that's good.
Like,
I mean, I'm hopefully being too cynical here.
No, I don't know that you're wrong. I would be surprised if that was the call, because some people I've seen giving out about it would be people like I think of as quite liberal or something. I'd be surprised if that was their reasoning. But I can definitely see a sect of audience being very mad about that.
Yeah.
But it's free speech, guys. What are you going to do about it? You can't censor me. So I guess nominally the plot is Jacob Tremblay and 2 unknown actors are 3 friends, the Beanbag Boys, who, while trying to learn how to kiss, end up via a complicated situation getting their dad's drone kidnapped and then have to get a new drone before he gets home, and so they can learn how to kiss and go to the kissing party that evening. It escalates from there, and it's very silly, but that's the baseline plot. Jacob Tremblay, I think, is sort of unfair to cast here because he's got the most like angelic little face.
Yeah, true.
And him saying "fuck" is never not funny, but also like near the end when he's crying, it's the most emotionally manipulative thing you've ever seen. He couldn't be a more generic sort of like perfect child actor. It's like, this is not fair. You're like, this is manipulation.
True.
He's very good. They're all very good, actually. All 3 of the leads. I do understand the criticism of it's sort of just the same 2 jokes. The 2 jokes being adult situations from kids' points of views and they don't understand them, or kids saying fuck. But it never didn't make me laugh, so I can't really complain about it.
No, it's true.
I don't really have much to say about it other than the fact that I really, really liked it. I think, we were talking about this before, like, it does sort of work with Booksmart in some ways. And even as you pointed out to me yesterday, that it shares 3 cast members? 3 cast members?
Two cast members with pretty key ones. Because it's
almost the same characters.
Yeah, Will Forte plays the fathers in both movies, and because in Good Boys, Jacob Tremblay has a sister who you never see. I think arguably that sister could be from Booksmart. That's what I want to push.
Do you see his mom in this?
I was looking back to see. I don't think she's in the cast list, so I think there might.
Same universe.
Yeah. So Phoebe Buffay is also both of their mothers. So that's good. And then Molly Gordon, who plays AAA, and Hannah
could be the same person.
Could be the same person. Yeah, she graduated in the first movie, and now she's enjoying her summer. I think it works well.
I think the consent stuff is. I think it's fairly well handled. So as I should back to Booksmart quickly. I think Booksmart is the better film. It's the more vital film. It's the more of the moment important film. Like, it's directed by a woman. I think it does more interesting things as well. Like, this is very one note, which is fine. Like, it does what it does very well, but it's very one note. Whereas Booksmart was trying to do a few different things and it did them all very well. But I think if Booksmart is sort of a nice kind of comfortable look at the fact that maybe things are changing and women can actually do well in society now. I think this is sort of like the little sort of ray of hope that maybe the next generation of men won't be as shit.
Yeah.
Maybe they've been, whether forced or not, they've been taught to not be shit.
Yeah. No,
because that last kissing party bit is actually really nice and
very,
sweet.
Yeah, it's really lovely. Yeah. I suppose, actually, one of the things I was just thinking of, I suppose it's maybe slightly disappointing that they still haven't got to do one of these movies about people who aren't very well off.
I thought that too during the final party scene, but I was like, I guess you kind of have to have them be rich or else you just don't have very interesting sets, which I know is not really an excuse.
No, I mean, also, I suppose they're like chasing a drone around, so, like there's a certain level of affluence going on, which
they
is
just
not...
casually have, like, what was it, $500 to
exactly, which, I suppose actually one of the things not one of the criticisms rather than thing I didn't
no one's saying
dislike.
It's perfect.
Yeah, no. But I suppose it definitely could have been tighter. Like, I know these films are kind of meandering, and in a way, to a certain degree, that's the point of it. But stuff like, I didn't really think the running through the traffic scene was particularly necessary.
It wasn't necessary, but I kind of liked it, and it also was probably the one moment of real danger in the entire movie.
That's true.
That was a little bit kind of, these are tiny children on a motorway. This is kind of horrible.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. Though it was. There's a few bits that I feel necessary, like the parkour chase was also, like, I think, quite funny, but also not really necessary.
And the paintball scene was also just, I don't know. I guess I'm too much in the climate of, like, let's not do too much about guns here, guys.
I did think that when it happened. But it's not a real gun, so it's probably fine.
It's not a flamethrower, it's fine.
It's not a flamethrower. And it wasn't a woman who was bashing a face into a fireplace.
Exactly. But actually funny, I think as well, it was slightly to do with that. I don't think that the filmmakers quite committed to some of it. Like, fair enough with running across the road stuff. Like, they obviously don't know what children running across the road actually looks like, which is a good thing. But it didn't really look very good.
No, it was clear just them on an empty road with CGI'd cars afterwards. It did look like that.
And
definitely.
some of the editing was also quite poor, as though they hadn't actually, as though they'd like got them out there and with the camera for a little while, and they were like, shit, this might be a bad idea. Let's take the children away from the side of the traffic or something. I don't know. It felt like the filmmakers weren't committing to certain to some of these kind of setups. So I don't want to see children being hit by traffic.
No.
So that's fine.
Throwing against cars and breaking their elbows or arms, that's fine.
Yeah,
that was funny. But yeah, not like splattered by cars.
But no, it's I don't know. I guess in a certain way, maybe just like visual gags to a certain degree aren't necessarily that kind of film genre's forte. So I don't know. Or maybe they are. Maybe they're just not good at traffic.
Yeah. Okay, we'll agree the traffic is probably the worst bit of the movie. I kind of enjoyed the paintball bit just because I liked what that scene was. Like, it's just them screaming respect women while like smashing each other across tables.
Like that's entirely fair.
But I know the gun thing did kind of sit in my head and going,
Yeah. Actually, we were talking about Never Grow Old earlier, the Western. And like, obviously, Westerns, there are going to be a lot of stuff about guns that kind of goes with the territory. Most of it was fine, but there was one line where the main character says, and I'm not sure if I'm quoting verbatim, but get me the gun that can kill the most people the quickest. And it's like, shit, like not quite the right tone to go for right now. So maybe I had that too much in the back of my mind when I saw paint guns.
Maybe. Actually, speaking of, we didn't review this, but quickly, speaking of kind of humor that in the political climate doesn't really sit well weapon-wise, one of the funnier bits in the new Spider-Man movie, which afterwards, in hindsight, I was like, oh, geez, that's actually really horrible and dark, is a joke about him accidentally launching a drone strike on one of his classmates.
Shit, whoa.
And it's really funny in the moment, but it's like, in hindsight, oh no, that's actually really, really bad.
Yeah, wow.
That's totally normalizing just like casual drone strikes against children.
Yeah, that's
it's okay. Spider-Man stopped the drone strike that he caused. It's fine. But yeah, no, I do. I know what you're saying. I do think like the film is kind of sloppy in some ways, but these films often are. Like they're scripts first and foremost. They're not really. The directing is basically invisible. Like apart from like maybe two sequences. But yeah, no, I thought like the endless gags, like that's the thing that surprised me most, the fact that it never got old despite being so repetitive. Like the swearing never got old to me. The endless jokes about them not knowing what sex toys were never got old to me. And it just kept escalating in weird ways. Like, they always seem to just have more dildos than they ever should have had.
Yeah.
Where did they get them all from? I don't know why Stephen Merchant was in there. For
No,
scene, which is funny, but again, why?
Yeah.
The kid being called Thor, is that do you think a post-Marvel thing? Or,
yeah.
Because I know people have got that name in real life too, even to this day, but like an American kid being called Thor?
It was quite strange. And I mean, like he's 12, so he's not really young enough to be a Marvel.
That's true. Sort of. That's very true. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah.
Also, I feel like maybe this is an American thing more.
Yeah, it could be.
That,
I mean, maybe he's part Norwegian or something.
Maybe. But I was going to say was that because they're meant to be like 11, 10.
Yeah,
I'm sure 6th grade is. Let's say.
They do claim to be tweens at one point. So
yeah, okay, that's true. So like 11, 12 probably. Like I know when we were that age in school, there was definitely a lot more naughty talk than adults think goes on. I don't know if it was to this level though.
Yeah, no.
This seemed a lot more than I. Yeah. These kids knew more than I knew back in my age at that time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I suppose. I mean, maybe it's true that they do know more now. I don't know.
With all their smartphones.
Yeah,
actually, that's probably true. Yeah.
And actually, that was one of the things I did like, which was at the beginning of the film when Max is whipping out his computer as well. But what I like is he's looking for something to masturbate to.
Yes.
And he's using like sort of it's like a game or not World of Warcraft type game, but he finds like a female orc and decides like that's good, that's what he wants. And this is like that's kind of cool. I mean, it's body positivity, she's a larger lady.
He makes her larger, yeah.
He makes her exactly, yeah. So it's like, if that's what they're looking at these days, that's good, I think.
And I also like that when Will Forte comes into the room, he's like,
yeah.
my kid's masturbating. Good for you, buddy. And then leaves. Like, that's really weird.
Yeah.
But also good.
Yeah.
Probably. Because I guess like even like, is it Thor's parent at all the sex swing stuff?
Yeah.
Like they seemed very open about that, or at least it was all very accessible to the children very easily. So I guess they're very open about them.
Either very open or just like very irresponsible.
One of those two things, sure.
Or both.
I like that the film, like, it didn't, because I think if it had gone much further into the realms of the LGBT stuff, it would have been risking some kind of awful, what's that group in America? 1 Million Moms, when it's like 100 of them. But one of those groups like boycotting it. But there's one little bit of moment at the end when Tremblay's, is it he Max?
Yeah.
When like Max he loses 2 girlfriends.
Oh,
and he's bawling in the skate park,
yeah.
and then they walk by hand in hand, 2 girlfriends. Like, that's nice, that's cute.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But like again, goddamn, Jacob Tremblay crying is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Actually, I was kind of wondering, and I might just be incredibly making assumptions that I shouldn't.
Oh, yes.
But I was wondering, was Thor sort of supposed to be potentially queer in some way? Like, is that what it's hinting at?
Impression too, but it's not really.
Like, it's sort of unfair to be like, oh, well, he likes singing and he has an earring.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's sort of like, it feels like that's where the filmmakers' minds might go.
No, I definitely thought that too, but I also felt guilty for thinking it, because it seems like it's not really in the text at all. It's more just visually compared to everyone else, he does look. He kind of seems visually queered in some way. That's really nondescript or something.
Yeah.
But
and I suppose as well, just
that
that he and then the other of the Boom Bap Boys, Lucas, they're the two who don't want to kiss girls.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, obviously it is really healthy to, and I think it's great that they are just like, look, not every 12-year-old wants to kiss or wants to have romantic relationships or whatever. But I don't know, it kind of felt like maybe that was also hinting at something for Thor and not necessarily for Lucas.
I was wondering that too. Yeah, I don't know. I had no idea. I was thinking that as well, and I wasn't sure what to make of myself for thinking that. Like, if I just spend too much time online, am I overthinking everything these days? But yeah, I did have the same questions as you did. I don't know though. But I really liked when the older girls come home and they're high as shit. Yeah. And it's really funny and cute and nice.
It's very adorable. Actually,
they're both very good in general. Actually,
they're great. Funny. And actually, as well, I think that is probably another part of what you were saying. Like, those girls sort of become the role models for them in the film to a certain degree, which is probably a really positive thing.
Take drugs, you guys.
Take drugs, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they probably wouldn't have done that if they'd made that film 10 years ago, say.
No.
So, that's a good sign. Boys can learn from their
because you couldn't really have had those characters be male. It wouldn't have worked. It
would have been it definitely would have been highly not possible to have them, or at least it'd be weird. And actually it led to one of my favorite like quotes from the film. Was just at the end, Max saying, maybe those old girls were right. It's like, I just love the fact that they're old girls
when they're like, what, 17, 18. And like I was saying earlier, the cop scene couldn't have known a white cop. What are you doing, Hollywood? Just stop having cops in movies. That's how you go about it.
Yeah, or I mean, I guess make it real and actually make, the majority of cops in America black. Because that might start to, make things a little bit better.
Maybe. I just feel like then you have the question of, then it feels unrepresentative of the real life violence and...
Oh, but I mean, like, in reality.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that would definitely.
Like, as in, get rid of the white cops.
That'll work.
Or, get rid of the cops, but start with the white ones.
Revolutionary thoughts here. Sorry,
there we go.
Inciting rebellion.
Yeah, I think 1 Million Mums is going to boycott our podcast now.
Oh, no. All 5 of them. So I think... it might end up my top 10 at the end of the year. We'll see. But I was shocked how much I liked it and how much I laughed at it. But yeah, if you want a good, I think, very positive double bill of comedy, this and Booksmart would be well together.
That's it, yeah.
I think that's probably it for this month. This edition. what did we say looking forward to next? I suppose It. Did you like It Chapter 1?
I didn't see it actually.
It's fine. It's fine.
Funny, I've seen the trailer for the second one more than I did for the first. I don't know why that is.
Oh yeah, well the first made a lot of money, so I think they're pushing this even more money, and it's almost 3 hours long as well for some goddamn reason. I know it's a very big book, but still, Jesus.
Yeah, it's half of a book at this point. So
exactly, it shouldn't be 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And then there's. You're saying Ad Astra's coming out.
Oh yeah, well, Ad Astra, but also, I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to it, but I'm curious about Gemini Man.
Yes,
the Ang Lee directed Will Smith.
I really hadn't planned seeing it, so don't make me see it, Sarah.
No, I won't.
No, you go see it, and if it's worth talking about, I'll go see it. But like, I'm hoping you'll come back and go,
I probably will.
There's that Joker movie coming out, which I'm just dreading being this generation's Fight Club, i.e. the point being missed. And endless like just toxic memes for the next decade, because that already happened with the last Joker film we had. So
we need another Joker.
But I'm mainly excited for the Joaquin Phoenix press tour for that movie, because he hates press tours for art house movies. So he will lose his goddamn mind trying to do a big mainstream DC movie. Nice. But we'll see.
Yeah, lots to look forward to.
We'll probably see us all at Christmas.
Yeah,
well, Halloween. I don't know.
Or the New Year.
All right. Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.